Ohio gozaimasu.
Hello, this is Dominic Felgrand, your local lazy gamer. Just realised that I was...
Muted.
Exactly. Turn that down a little. Just realised I was muted. And... other stuff. My goal today... That's a little low. Can we bring it up a little bit? Okay, that should do. My goal today is to refine what we're going to do with the game in the future. At least plan it out and to show you what I have visualized for it. So you're not just watching me do bullshit for no reason. Now, as I was saying before I realized I was muted, I am very sick today. Far too many parts of my body that shouldn't hurt are hurting, and it feels like my insides are melting. So I don't know if I'm going to be on for long. Probably not very long. We're just going to refine some ideas, and then we're probably going to pop off for a bit to get that rest and to grind like it's no one's business, because I can't give up the game right now. I'm having too much fun. So we swap down to gaming and we turn on display capture. I'll try not to. No promises. So this is as far as we got. Everything we've got done from here onwards has all been the introduction. This had all been the introduction of the game. This is an idea that we haven't refined yet. This is just a concept, something for me to think about so I know where we're going. This is where we are. We're supposed to get after our chase. We realize that we might be in some trouble. We leave. We go up here. We interact with this. We hide in the tree. And from there on, I'm trying to justify this hiding in the tree. So we'll figure that one out in a bit. So I feel like if we get everything else sorted, we can work our way backwards. So we end up meeting the exposition. The exposition is going to be basically telling us why, how, and what's going on, right? From here we'll finally figure out why everything is the way it is. What's the state of the world, how we're going to be dealing with it. If we want to deal with it, we will deal with it. Obviously, it's a game. We have to deal with it. If we said, nah, fuck that, the game is over, which I'm probably going to make an option. Now, the plan from here is this. This is the entire introduction. This is the exposition. Where is my undo button? We'll add a layer here so I don't fuck up. There we go. So this is our... Why did I add a group? Okay, there we go. This is our introduction. This is the introduction. This is the exposition. This is going to tell us how we do, and then it's going to move us over to the HUD area. The HUD area is where the game really takes off. This is our central location. Everything branches out from there. Now the concept is immediately from when we get to the HUD area, we can, if we want to, We can, if we want to, go straight to the end. Would we succeed? Probably not. Probably get absolutely face fucked. But that is the option. We have the option to go to the end. With that in mind, we'll have additional missions that are going to be relevant to the story that will help us in beating the end. The more of these we get, the more benefits we get from them, and the more the end will become easier. And then finally, we have these. These are branching side quests. These are going to be how we acquire new characters, update facilities, get new abilities, new weapons. Everything is going to be fed through these side quests to make the HUD stronger. This is basically feeding itself back into itself. And of course, by making this stronger, you make these easier. And by making these easier, you make this easier. That's the concept. That's the idea. And how much you experience is determined by how efficiently you can beat the end. That's it. If you can beat the end just by walking straight there and beating it, good on you. You're a god. But you've missed everything else, but that's entirely up to you. Oh, 4th of July, is it? Congrats. Have fun with that. Now, I'm probably not going to be here long myself. I'll probably try and get an hour out of this, and then I'll pop off. But yeah, no worries. Enjoy the holiday. But that's the idea. This is the current flow of the game. And after saying all that, we are only here. That's how, after all the time we spent developing, we're only at the intro. We've only finished the intro. We're just at the point where we have to justify the exposition. And then the exposition will justify the HUD. The expedition is not going to be long. It's literally just going to be a conversation that will give us the heads up on what's going on how to survive, and so on and so forth. And what we do from there is up to us. But we have to justify a whole lot, like a fuck ton. So, with that in mind, how do we justify it? The first thing is to identify what the story is about. And we'll go up here with a bit of text. Whoop. About here. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Can we reduce the size of that text bar? Will 42 do? Yep, that'll do. Okay. So, the concept so far has been priests, summons. Oh, no, let's make that even smaller. There's the 42 I was looking for. Priest summons seriously? Beast summon beasts, which are people from other worlds. To be used as a product. The intention is that the product is a material for a tool or weapon. So that's the basic justification of product, because we pretty much get that idea from the summoning. If you're thinking, we won't tell you, we just, if you put some thought into it, you'll probably come to that conclusion. So that's the first thing that happens to us when we get out of the introduction. or yeah, the character creation section. I say character creation loosely. We don't have a lot of creation in there. I had to simplify that, actually. That was really difficult trying to justify. Well, not justify, but make work. Because it turned one character creation into 7 character creation because you had to make a different character for every class. That's besides the point. We, the player, we'll just say player. We'll use the term player for ourselves. Player is summoned but intercept by another god who offers minimal help in the form of a blessing. Said blessing is the pet, which we know as our beast pet. And that's the introduction. That's basically the first chunk of the game. Clean that up a bit. We go back here, we more or less have that. Because during the introduction, we go up here. We're introduced to a being that can intercept us, and it gives us the chance to not come over to this world. And this is because air summon is a little unusual, where instead of a live person being sent over, a dead person's being sent over and given a living body. I'm going to have to put that in there, actually. I have to remind myself of that one. Where did I put it? Here we go. Player is a dead soul given life in exchange by the intercepting god as part of that god's plan to protect. No. Plan. Because normally it summons a living person from the future. He gives us a dead soul a choice. Player is given the choice to accept the plan or remain dead. And that's actually something we have in there. Because if we go back into it, right here, we're given the choice. Sorry, hero, do you remember who you are? That's the voice talking to us. I have come to give you a choice. Live again in a new world or pass on to your true death. Now, this is important because we don't know why, what, where, or anything like that at the start. His plan is going to be coming in the exposition section where we finally meet the voice, and the voice tells us why they did this and give us more choices for what we do going forward. Then we're given the actual choice, start over or pass on. And if you start over, everything continues on as normal. But if you choose to die, if you choose to stay dead, it goes, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It should be down here somewhere. Where does the branch start? Start over. Everything goes down here. Here it is. So when we choose to pass on, it says, so be it, this may be for the best. There's a flash, game over. There you go. So from the very beginning, you can speed run the game just by doing that. Then once we get here, as we shown earlier, we have the summoning beast who will be part of the cutscene. And we have the summoning process where we're brought in and we learn that we're a product. We would be apprehended, but the place itself is intercepted and attacked. This is because we're not in a position where we can actually fight off this. Everything is going according to their plan efficiently. That's all there is to it. But they get attacked because there's another external factor into it, in that there's war going on and other stuff happening in the world, and this other stuff is is obviously going to cause conflict. We will eventually make our way out, and I see this right here. You can barely see it, but this dirty little secret gives you a rusted sword, which has the ability to poison the enemies. So just remember that. There's no reason for it. Just if you ever do play it, just remember that. We make our way out. This is actually just a cutscene segment. We're in the carriage where we answer questions by the curiosity of this nice old lady, and this guy is listening to us. We get here when we wake up. We step outside. We hear these two talking, where the guard informs us. Inform his superior about, well, the information he got from us, and realize that we shouldn't have been there. So they're now trying to apprehend us, and then we have the opportunity to leave. If we go this way, we have a boss fight. This one right now, I don't have anything planned. One of my ideas was that we can have an alternate pass where if we beat this, we can just leave. It could be an alternate ending right there, and that wouldn't be a bad idea. And then if we go straight up top, we enter this little segment. Now, I haven't decided what was going to happen here, but I was thinking of making this a grove that is protected by the god that happens to be the voice. And even though we're panicking and we're going to end up running into this hole, they technically can't find us. That's one of the ideas. The other idea is that they actually can enter and look around. But when we go in here, this is going to close up, and there we go. Then we have, remember, this is a placeholder. This is going to be the exposition. We get here, we go in, we talk to the voice we hear at the start. We learn about the state of the world, in which a fate has been grown exponentially because they managed to industrialize the summoning mechanics, the isekai summoning mechanics, where they draw people into the world instead of doing what you typically expect, where you make them into weapons. They quite literally make them into weapons. People are processed and turned into items. I actually read a story like that. It's where the idea came from. So the abilities they have become the core for weapons that could use those abilities, or items that could use their abilities. That was the concept. They basically, and to dehumanize them, they refer to them as beasts. And it was easy to separate humanity from the people summoned because they were being pulled into the world. They weren't born into the world. So the people who thrive on the conveniences bought by this process aren't really going to think too hard on it. And those who do think too hard on it, well, they justify it in their mind that they're not people. They're animals at best. And not even that. They're deceptive bastards. That's how they view us. We're worse than demons in their eyes. But that's going to be the concept. That's the basic idea. From there, we're given the option. The reason why we were brought in is because they were hoping that they could use us, the god. Also, we'll go back a bit. The god also reveals that there's actually a pantheon of sorts, but the pantheon has a hierarchy. And unfortunately, the one that sits on the top also happens to be a dictator, and they're the one teaching and fueling the people about the byproducts and the summoning mechanics. And they're gaining power from fate, and as the dictator of the gods, they can actually they can kill other gods. So the idea is that other gods are against this dictator god, but none of them can stand up openly or even indirectly, because if they slight that god in any way, she just straight up murder them. So this was the concept for why the gods would help you, but why they couldn't do much to help you, because if they get caught, it wouldn't even be a question, they'd just be killed. So this god helps you by blessing you. This blessing can be written off as an ability of the of a summons, and then they kind of show up just long enough to give us the exposition, to tell us what's going on. And then from there, they won't be able to interact with us much at all. We're kind of left to our own machinations, but they will help us get to our starting point. And our starting point, as I said earlier, over here, is the HUD. Very important. The HUD is going to be our base of operations. For the time being, I don't know how to approach the HUD. It's fucking scary. Because do I introduce an upgrade mechanic? Do I introduce alternate skins to kind of give you the illusion that you're building your own town? Do I make a set of events that transforms certain patches of land into houses? And it's something like that I have to figure out, because can I make it work is the big question on top of all that. I think I can. In fact, I'm very confident that I can. It'll just be tricky. Now, the end goal is going to be to create this very customizable base, because again, everything that improves the HUD is going to be in a side quest, which means how much the HUD improves and how much you experience before you beat the game, which you can beat, or which you can attempt to beat right away, is going to be there. Now, I kind of pigeonholed myself as well, because I don't actually yet have any justification for the player character to want to beat the last one, the main guy. So I'm thinking about working that. I have to work that one into my theory. Like, how could I justify that? The easiest one would be to say that the god will be able to, quote unquote, grant a wish if he succeeds in his ambitions. Because the hope is that if you destroy the dictator god's source of fate, you'd be able to overthrow the pantheon's current state of being, and he'd be able to grant you a wish for it. Or at the very least, the pantheon might be able to collectively grant you a wish. And I'm just thinking to myself, how would I judge that? Should I make that a player choice? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what wish you choose. I just need to justify you getting from A to D. Well, I suppose in this case, it's B to D. C to D. But yeah, no, it should be doable. Maybe we'll go over here into our little notes. Let's see. Go over here. Okay. Drop you down to 42. Okay. Right, so choice. We need possible choices for wishes. The most cliche one is to be sent back to original world. What other choices could we give them? I don't know. Make them king of the new world. Any other ideas? Because not all of these will have to go in. It's just I want as many choices as possible, because I can pick upwards of 6, and it doesn't matter which one we pick, because this is just justifying why we're moving towards the end. We might make it so that each one will give you a different kind of wish, like the wish for home, or like I'll give you a key item, the wish for home, or the wish for king, the wish to be king, or something like that. Keep it cliche, and then we'd use those key items to give us a different ending, which actually will be fun to have multiple choice endings, you know? What else is there? Has to be any ideas. Any coming to mind with you? Oh God, my arm. For some reason, the bone in the middle of my forearm is aching and it's making it hard to do things like push buttons. Really weird. Oh, what cliche wishes are there? Okay, let's go with to make a harem, because you know there's going to be people who want that wish. To become God. That might not make it into the end. Wish again, make it into the end, because I think I might do something with that. Still, it'd be an interesting one. What other choices will we make? Very classic. I think I spelled that wrong. Oh, I spelled it right this time. Right, Isekai wishes. There might be some ideas we could pull out. For now, that's 5 wishes. That's a good start. We can worry about the concept of wishes much later. But this is good. The wish system will give player a reason to actually go through with the story progress, because motivation is important. Motivation is very important, and if we can at least make the motivation personal by giving you the wish, the ability to make your own personal wish, the better, because that puts the player into the game more than they necessarily would be, or at least that's the goal. Now, what else is there to think about? That's actually a good one. I would not have thought about that if I didn't actually sit back and worry about this. Okay. Wish system may open up the possibility for multiple endings. That's important to note, because we need to remember that in the future in case they do something with it. A lot of justifications for this now. And it's really important to me to justify why we're doing the thing. It's not enough to just do it. We need to have a reason why we're doing it. So now we have to define what happens after. This is actually enough for what we need overall for the immediate future. We'll work on it a bit more though. I see new. Okay. And over here, Let's see now. A pantheon of gods. Current ruler is a dictator that kills gods and such for attempted opposition. When I say opposition, I mean actual actually messing with them in the real world, because their source of faith comes from people, and that source of faith can give them power. It's going to be the most cliche form of godhood. The idea that not only do they have their own power, but they have an additional pool of power that comes from their faith, from the faith of others. Think of it as like I don't know, Goku has his own power, but then if he uses Red Goku God, he was only able to achieve that because he had the power of 5 other Saiyans backing him up. It's kind of like that concept. It's like they have their own power, and then there's a power that's achieved by stockpiling others' powers onto it. Now, we ignore the fact that he essentially makes Red his own power later by turning it into blue, but that's a completely different thing. Ignore it. Goku's weird. But the simple concept is that there's a power that you have, and then there's the power that you acquired from an external source. The power the gods get from their external source is their face, and if the face is good enough, it can outweigh the natural power of other gods. Especially if they're pulling the fate that would be going to other gods into themselves. With this in mind, the god itself is not particularly weak, but not particularly strong, but they're because of their machinations, they're gaining a lot of face. The god themselves orchestrates, we call him the D-god. Also blesses others, even the enemies of... No, wait, that's the wrong one. Others, regardless of their mortal alliances, which means she will also bless people. Say, for example, we have the kingdom, right? Say there was two armies going to war, and both of them worship the same god. She will bless the most faithful, if you will, and to give them strength, power, so on and so forth. But that means that most faithful could be on both sides, which means they could both be fighting relentlessly. But while you think people would go, oh no, we can't have that. The idea that you can gain an immense amount of power from, we can't have that from a god that doesn't care about whose side you're fighting for. At the same time, an immense amount of faith in that god will give you overwhelming power. And if you can use that power for your own benefits, it's like people are still going to have faith and pray in that god because that god's actually doing stuff. It's kind of going to be a difficult one, a very difficult one. I'll have to work on that justification a fair bit more. Maybe kind of approach it from the idea that the god doesn't care for mortals' squalor, and will still bless those of exceptional face. So if you have exceptional face, you will gain power, and that power could help you in the long run. I think that's the justification I'll go for it. And that's how she's able to gain a lot of faith and following. But at the same time, she's also bringing a lot of conflict and death, because she's all willy-nilly giving her blessings to whoever with a powerful face. It means there's a lot of conflict. So at some point, there's going to be people that will rise up against said god. And that's probably going to be a good justification for a third party. or third or fourth party, actually. We'll have to remember a lot of the things that are happening in the broader sense of the world, while we do have to consider them as part of the story, they won't be addressed directly in the story because we're going to be operating on our own. We're going to be doing our own machinations. We'll probably encounter some of these people, we'll probably interfere or help or so on and so forth with some of these groups, but we're probably not going to have a lasting relationship with them because, again, we have our own ends to meet. And if they're moving in their own direction, it doesn't mean, even if you're on good terms, it doesn't mean that they'll be moving with you, if you know what I mean. People naturally branch off. So I'm trying to think about that as well. I have to wonder what each individual group are, what their motivations are, how they view the gods, how they view the current state of beings, and how we could use that in the story, and whether that can be beneficial to us or detrimental to us, depending on circumstances. And even if we did have people who despise the gods or wanted to take down the dictator god, would they care to help our cause, which is to stop the summoning system and to take down the tyrant, well, I say tyrant, but we'll say the over-faithful priest and his legion of little paladin knights, wannabe paladin knights. Basically, the group of people we meet at the very start of the game. Here. This guy, like, these are all one organization, and they are just constantly summoning people, killing them, well, capturing them, turning them, processing them into usable material. And then they're all operating under the orders of, I'm thinking, their king, while at the same time, they are an extension of the main god. But it's like, if we had a group that was opposed to that god, would they care to intercept this, or would they be fighting at a different battlefield? For example, this is all about summoning otherworlders and making weapons from them. If anything, they'd benefit from this system. So not attacking them, but instead intercepting and acquiring their equipment is probably a better thing for them in the overrun. So we might actually, even if we were fighting against the same thing, because we have different, well, say fighting against the same god, because we have different motivations and goals, there's a chance our motivation and goal goes against theirs, which means we'd become enemies even though we have the same enemy. The enemy of your enemy is not necessarily your friend. That's one thing we'd have to consider. There could in fact be, these people are working under a god, but remember, they're operating under the summoning aspect. There could be other kingdoms operating under different aspects. For example, converting people into borderline demons, or so on and so forth. Like, that's just a thought off the top of my head. That's not something for me to dwell on. But the idea is that there could be other kingdoms that are operating differently under the same principle as the said god, and that force that's fighting against the god could be fighting those human experiments. But since no one considers the summoned people to be human, they might instead be trying to steal these people's equipment, or even buying their equipment into use against their war against the other kingdom. And remember, that god doesn't care at all about the machinations of humans. So whether these guys live or die doesn't really matter in the long run, so long as there's a steady influx of people that can maintain her fate, her power. Same on this side. But she finds entertainment in war, struggle, and so on and so forth, which is why she will give her blessings. And by giving her blessings, she'd also prove herself, which in turn will make people more willing to accept fate from her, or give her their fate. That's actually not a bad set of justifications there. It's a bit contrived, probably needs to be worked on, but it's doable, it's functional. I'll have to remember to timestamp this. But yeah, that's not the worst idea. Essentially, much of our justification is that the god doesn't really care about people on an individual level. She only really cares about people as a resource. So even though the humanity of this world see themselves as the gods chosen or whatever, they're no more, they're no different than a human summoned to their world. They're nothing more than a resource, a battery, something to fuel the god's own personal economy. Remember, the god, so long as she has that faith, she's the most powerful god, and so long as she's the most powerful god, the other gods can't stand against her. Because with the power she has, she can kill them. And the idea in here is that these gods are God with a lower G, not a capital G. Remember that. They're higher beings, but they still have a finite life. Well, not a finite life. They can still be killed. That's a lot to take in, but it actually makes sense, justify a lot of things. It also means that we might end up having an interesting set of potential enemies and teammates. Because people you think would be willing to fight for us against the current situation could very well be against us because they don't agree with our view of certain details. Our fight itself could be a detriment to their fight, and thus we have to die to preserve their capabilities. That's an interesting one. Okay, so we pop on over here again. So one of the ideas for this section here, these optional missions that are also relevant to the end of the game, I was thinking each one would be their own, long quest line through dungeons and so on and so forth, where we ultimately end up fighting someone. I haven't decided the all details. Like, for all we know, this could be a dungeon where they, where they process the humans, the summon people into resources. So we go there and we deal with the person at the end of it. Boom. The idea is that, and this one could be like maybe a military group that's under the orders of the king, who's known for their, being exceptionally powerful and beneficial to the king as a whole and is stupidly loyal. So we're there to assassinate him. And maybe if we assassinate him, we remove him as a potential boss in the final section. Same as this. But at the same time, we acquire a new power, probably in the form of a processed human now used as a weapon. So say the human was processed into the core of a sword that can, spit fire. Just throwing that out there off the top of my head. And now we have a new sword and maybe it has its own set of abilities, or maybe we absorb the core of the soul and we acquire a brand new special ability. Something like that. We have to be considerate of these things. It's going to be a way for us to tangibly and very tangibly alter the state of the game by making us both powerful at the same time and weakening the enemy, the final encounter. And we have to do this across multiple missions to remove multiple bosses from this final encounter, to gain new powers, and to, extend the life of the game, I guess. Because remember, we can just go from here straight into this. We probably won't survive, but we can do that. We can go off and do the side quest to make this more powerful and then go straight in. We will be hard, but it should be doable if we can get the balance right. And then we can just hit all these, get all the benefits, go straight in, and have a fun boss fight. Or we do all of that, go straight in, and have a potentially easier boss fight. We also have to, but things like balancing and game mechanics, I'm going to have to do that later. Because I still haven't decided how I'm going to balance the game. Like, one of the ideas is to give us a level cap of 30 and then have most, if not all, of our stat progression be acquired through stat items, stat increasing items, consumables, things that gives us tangible buffs. Or maybe I can apply them at the end of certain missions here. Like, you beat this, congratulations, you now have a plus 30 in strength. I don't know, stuff like that. It's just, I have to figure out how to control it. But to do that, I also have to learn how to do the numbers. Like, if I go in here, tool, database, we go over here, actors. Right. Each actor has their own different scaling. And this slider determines how quickly they gain their stats over time. Like, this strength stat, it'll rise very slowly over time. But this HP stat will rise very fast. Low intelligence gain, high agility gain, so on and so forth. And it's kind of difficult to talk about it, really. But we have to figure that out, and we have to figure out the basic stats. Like, we go into the classes. No, that's different. Let's go over to enemy troops. No, individual enemies. This is a good way to look at it. We have our health values, our strength, dex, agility, intelligence, attack, magic, defense, evasion, so on and so forth. This is all important because we have to figure out what these values actually mean, how they interact with each other. Because, as you've seen, the balance in the demo has been very, very skewed. We had to kind of give players free skills, free generic skills, to be able to play through the demo easily. But it hasn't been bad so far. Okay. I think I got enough notes for now. At the very least, I got enough that we can get ourselves to the HUD area the next time we do the RPG Maker. Things like the endings and so on and so forth, we'll figure them out later. Getting to the HUD area, justifying the expansion of the HUD area, and then setting up the side quests are all really fucking important. That's how we do it. How we get from here to here, I just forgot. So, getting to HUD area from exposition. God informs you of a builder who agreed to help you in your endeavors. Builder might be changed later, but for now we'll go with builder. Find builder. Builder takes us to secure land. Builder begins building. HUD area begins development. There we go. That'll be a good little A to B. That'll also extend the life of the exposition and the introduction, technically. Okay, so that's a good enough amount of notes for now. I think that's enough to justify a lot of our choices going forward. So I'm still sick. I'm feeling it. Everything hurts. So I'm going to get off for a bit. So for those who stuck around with me, thank you. For those who happen to be listening until now, thank you. I know it hasn't been a great stream, but I wanted to stream. I said I would stream, and this was the intent for the stream. To sit down, talk, maybe gather some ideas. Very quiet day, but it's 4th of July. It is what it is. So thank you regardless, just for coming in and sitting down and listening to me babble on. And for anyone who happens to see this in the future, yes, this is an important process. Unfortunately, because I didn't properly plan this out, the entire development of my game has grinded to a halt, which means now that we have these notes and we have the basic idea, we can actually start pushing through the game's development again in the future. Not now, I'm sick. Yeah. So, good luck. Have fun. I wish you all the best. I am tossing off. Goodbye.